A Laugh in the Dark. Chapter 9. "He's done!" Tom Borelli crowed as he entered his dressing room. Stan Mahoney had blown the first rehearsal, and everyone knew it. Did you see? Did you see?" Tom asked Peg, who sat on the windowsill, smoking a cigarette and wistfully peering through the blinds. Yeah, sure," Peg answered, crushing the cigarette with her heel as she stood up. They were talking about banning smoking altogether at 30 Rock. Imagine that. What would she or the writing staff of Mohair's do without a nicotine fix? The bitter tasting texture of a filter on the side of one's mouth, the way the smoke made your eyes squint when you drove home a point about how a bit should end or who should be on the show. She remembers the first day she worked at Lampoon. She had to deliver a stack of headshots and demo tapes to Brad Brillstein himself. There he was, the legendary Brad, smoking one of his Euro-trendy black filterless cigarettes as he plowed through a pile of prospective newcomers to the show. His eyes closed in a squint as he puffed away on the smoking stick of licorice, which he clenched tightly between his teeth like an army general in a World War II movie. "Overachiever," Brad scowled and tossed aside a headshot. "Johnny come lately." He tossed another one to the floor. "Too black." He winked at Peg, as if to say, see, I could be playfully racist. I'm that big. I'm that important. Not black enough. The headshots were piling up on the floor, and Peg wasn't certain if she should stoop to pick them up, lest Brad was pulling a ruse to simply look down her blouse. She didn't know. Proud of herself, Brad tossed another headshot, and Peg wondered just how Mr. Brillstein could sum up so many would-be stars so quickly. Didn't he know how hard it was for any of them to even get to this level? For every one of those headshots, there had to be at least 500 headshots that would never see the eye of Brad Brillstein upon them. But maybe that was for the better. Brad was being so mean, so quick to judge, bug-eyed, big-nosed, floozy, fodder for the press, trouble, dangerous, dippy. Brad went on and on until he came to one headshot. "Perfect," was all he said as he searched the pile of headshots for this particularly perfect one's demo tape. Finding it, Brad tossed it to Peg to put it in the VCR. "This guy looks the part. I hope to hell he can act." The tape whizzed and whirled, and in a moment, Brad was enthralled by the actor, who by all accounts was not an actor at all. Just a kid with a camcorder horsing around in his backyard with a few buddies. The big, burly blonde kid was wearing a child's cowboy hat and homemade leather chaps while brandishing cap guns in either hand. Tiny pop guns that in the kid's catcherman's hands looked twice as tiny. He was gyrating to Susie Q by the Creedence Clearwater Revival. Remarkable. "That's disgusting," Peg stated, then held back her impending sneer lest she questioned the taste and sensibility of her boss. Brad simply gave her a quick shrug aside and focused on the screen at the foot of his desk. The bit was from Apocalypse Now. Kid was mimicking the Playboy go-go dancers that were brought in to entertain the troops in the film. "See, this kid gets it." Brad took the cigarette out of his mouth and pointed to the screen. Peg just stared, almost dumbfounded at the screen. This guy was repulsive, stupid-looking, and by all accounts, perhaps not all there. "Genius, pure genius," Brad cackled. "See, his generation loves that movie. He's doing a parody of the key scene, an iconic scene, and he's lampooning it. Marvelous, marvelous. Get his agent on the phone. Let's sign him up." "There's no agent or real contact info on the envelope," Peg said, examining the envelope, then reaching over to eject the tape from the VCR. Oh, there's an address on the tape. That's all." Funny. How did this amateur hour shit get through the system? How did it get onto the pile of refined submissions? Peg was about to point out this incongruity to Mr. Brillstein, but he had already moved on to an important phone call and had left her with the charge to contact this kid. She was new on the job, eager to please and afraid to fail, so she pursued her only lead, the address that was smeared across the ragtag label on the tape. 11 Cornelia Street, 4F, New York, New York.